People always hesitated getting on an escalator and getting off. They didn't know just how to step off. So I designed steps made of grids that were split. There was just one unit bent like stairs, and they were all together. And one turned like this and kept moving you up without a conveyor. It's just it's cut out of wood, of steps. And they were separated by about, if you cut this out of metal and just made a step pattern, see, and you put another one alongside of it, and they go through each other. In other words, like this. And they just rotate. They keep bringing you up without continuous conveyor.
I see.
In other words, if you did this, it would put a box, if it lifted up a box and then went into another unit here and went down, the box would remain on the upper one. So it was not a continuous conveyor. It was just a rotational motion that moved people up. Of course, I didn't have the money for patents. I may have been about 16 or 17 years old. Then I designed an airport that looked like a triangle. It looked a little something like this. Because airports had runways in every direction. So instead of putting runways in every direction, this was every direction. So I made a model of it about this size. And some newspaper ran it in New Jersey, somewhere in New Jersey, when I was a kid. Something about a 12 or 13-year-old designed this airport, you know. When I was about 13 or 12, a relative got his fingers in the fan. The baby touched the fan and hurt himself badly. So I made blades out of rubber, just pitched into a center. So if you touch it, it'll slap you like. So I took it to a fan company. They said, no, it's not efficient. And they came out with it about a year later.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Jews used to, since they were religious, they were not allowed to put out the candles. So they used to hire me to put out the candles. So I took a razor blade and cut the wick. First I timed the burning of a candle all the way down. And at say 4 or 5 hours, I'd cut the wick and pull it out from the bottom. So the rest of the wick would burn to 2 or 3 o'clock. Whenever they wanted it to go out, it would go out near that time, not exactly. So they didn't have to have what they call a goy, a non-Jew, put out the candles. There were candles that went out. They used to call me the wizard, you know, because I can tell the candles when to go out, you know. 14, very young. Well, the match idea, I don't want to give out, but I sold it to a match company and I never got any royalties because they wouldn't turn it out. You have to buy new matches. It was a permanent match. Some guy named Gaspar Joya, he worked at the doll factory and he said, maybe he can get me a job there during the Depression, where I'd grind the seam off the legs of the doll. You know, when you cast a leg, there's a seam all around from the mold that you lift it out of. And I used to grind the seam off. So then I recall a key factory where they put a key in the middle and they'd have a dummy key and it would trace that key and shape the other key. In other words, you have to give a guy a key. He puts it in the machine that follows the guidelines of that key. And so I designed a leg grinder. I put a profile of the leg in a machine and I'd move the profile and I would cut the seam perfectly on the leg. From a key machine I got that idea.
Called a pantograph.
Yes, a pantograph. And the guy, foreman, I kept it covered. The foreman said, how do you do that? I said, I'm not at liberty to disclose that. And anyway, he said, either you tell me or you're not working here anymore. So I quit.